The cheapest ticket in the NBA is the Pacers, and I did double check. It is the Pacers, and it still is the Indiana Pacers. I'm going to show you something in a bit. It's $138 is the average ticket price, so you may think that's really high. Tickets for the NBA must be incredibly expensive. They're not. They're incredibly cheap unless you go to see one of the marquee teams, is what I'm going to call them. That's not something that anyone else has said but me. Which is really interesting because an NFL game is always going to be very expensive. An MLB game is always going to be cheap, and an Indiana Pacers game is always going to be cheap, which is very, it's interesting the different markets in sports and what markets have inexpensive tickets and what markets have expensive tickets. So even though the Indiana Pacers are playing really well, their tickets are incredibly cheap. Their parking is on the expensive side. I took this information from a site that everyone took their information from. I noticed that in Sportskeeda, which everyone uses Sportskeeda as a reference point. I don't know if it's legit or not. It took the average price of last year's tickets and said that they were this year's price of their tickets. So this, I believe, is based on last year's price, but I'm going to do other things to show that it has not moved all that much, and the Pacers are still the cheapest ticket in the NBA. And their parking is $14.47, which is high. I factored in parking. I don't know why. I really don't drive very much, so but I think that's important. And it's really not important, especially if you go with people. You're splitting that cost. Beer, on the other hand, you're not going to park twice, but you're going to buy multiple beers, aren't you? You'd think the Pacers would have expensive tickets, being that they're really good this year, but they don't. So let's take a look at the Indiana Pacers tickets on SeatGeek right now. So this is home games, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, that's where they play. They have a great stadium also. It's an awesome stadium. I've been there multiple times. I'm from Indiana, and the way it's structured is it goes straight up. So you never feel like you're that far away from the field. You look, it's almost like you could jump to your death if you just dove out in front of you because it's so steep. Not to make it morbid, but that's if you have a fear of heights, it may be triggered if you go to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, formerly known as Conseco Fieldhouse, or I don't remember the other one. So if you want to go to a Bucks game, you can get a ticket for $12. The Bucks, a great team, the second best team in the East, playing the Indiana Pacers, a really competitive team, probably going to make the playoffs without having to play in the play-in, for $12. And it goes up against, something seems fishy about the third. Okay, here's another thing. It's a Wednesday, so prices are going to change a bit. So if you want to go see on a Friday, if you want to go see the Pacers play the Hawks at Gainbridge, it's going to cost you $24. Now let's look at a more expensive ticket. Let's look at the Boston Celtics, $50. The Boston Celtics are expensive. I was going to go to the Clippers Boston game because you could get a Santa Claus Kawhi bobblehead at Crypto on that night, but tickets were not worth it. Usually, we'll get into this, but usually tickets are pretty cheap for Clippers games, but they are not for the Boston Celtics. I don't know that many Boston Celtics fans, but apparently there are tons of Boston Celtics fans. I don't even know that many people from Boston personally, but they're a very popular team. Let's move on. I don't even know why I have the slideshow up. The Thunder. The Thunder have a very inexpensive ticket. Again, this was based on last year, but they were still like relatively competitive last year. Also, team was just about the same. Think about what their team was. They really didn't add anyone except for Chet. Unless there's some glaring thing I'm not thinking about. They extended Lou Dort, but I think that's you know, they extended him. It's the same actual team. So a parking costs $10. Not bad. Parking $10. Who cares? It's a one-time expense. Usually you're going to have people. Usually you're going to split it. Usually you should, unless you're not going to ask, unless you're too cowardly to send a Venmo request, then you're going to eat the whole thing. $6 for a beer. I would go, and this is for a 16-ounce beer. I apologize for the fireworks. It's the New Year's Eve. And it's $6. It's like hanging out at a bar. It's like a normal price for a beer if you were just at a standard bar. This is for a 16-ounce beer, what I would assume would be like a Coors Light or some, you know, domestic draft But I do have I'm a little bit skeptical on the price of the beers. Incredibly inexpensive. Looks like I went back to so 608. Let's take a look and just see what the Oklahoma City Thunder's ticket prices are going for just home games. And wow, they're more expensive. So this is the thing. They are okay. Going on the weekend is $37 for a Brooklyn Nets game. Okay, which was today. Yeah, which was today. It was $37 for a Brooklyn Nets game. Okay, that's quite a bit. And then it's $33 if you want to go on Tuesday to the Boston Celtics. The only reason it's cheap is because it's Boston. And I mean, the only reason it's expensive is because it's Boston, because it is a Tuesday. Now let's look at a Thursday game, a weekday game against the Portland Trail Blazers. Dang, man, $4? So it is legit. This is true. This is correct. We gotta keep moving. $15 to see the Orlando Magic. $15 to see the Orlando Magic play the Oklahoma City Thunder. Wow. I might just fly to Oklahoma City to watch that game. I'm not gonna do that. I'm lying to you. But still, the good people of Oklahoma City are getting good prices for quality basketball games. So let's move on. The Pistons. We need to check what the Pistons are getting for a game. That'll be really interesting. Now, are people coming out to the game to like support the team because they feel, you know, bad about how poor the team is performing? That would be sad. That would be sad if that were the case. So it's $153 for a ticket. It's almost like kind of stupid to read the prices, because once you get, we're still under the $200 range. Once you go over the $200 range, you get into very expensive tickets. And we're gonna get to those teams. So parking, $890. I shouldn't have put parking in here, it's kind of stupid. $672, price of a beer at a bar. Excellent deal. Go get drunk at Little Caesars Arena and watch the Pistons try to win a basketball game. I'm not a Pistons hater. I'm rooting for that team. I want them to be successful. I'm very happy for them to have got their first win against the Toronto Raptors. That's awesome. Think about how that feels to be those guys, to be Cade Cunningham, to be James Wiseman. Think how depressing it would be just as a person, as a human being. Your life's work, the thing you do well, you're doing very poorly at, and everyone is ridiculing you. Has to be pretty bad. So pray for your homies in Detroit. $12. Go see Sacramento Kings. Again, a Tuesday game, a Wednesday game, then a $19. Okay, against the Spurs. Nobody comes out for Wemby. You think like, oh, the tickets are going to be expensive because it's Victor Wembanyama. They don't. They really don't. Clippers tickets were really cheap for Victor Wembanyama. I think the allure and the surprise of what's this guy look like out on the court, it's done. He's just a great basketball player, and he's a rookie. People don't care as much, so that's not going to drive the price up. They're a bad team. You're watching a bad team. You're paying $19. On a Friday, it's only $21 to go see the Houston Rockets, who are a competitive team. Minnesota, $12. That's interesting. Yeah, it's a Wednesday. That makes sense. And then, all right, let's look at a Saturday marquee game. $29 if you want to go watch Giannis play in Detroit. He might sit that game out. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. I always say that all the time. It's very funny. I'm a comedian. Spurs. Nope, moved on. Spurs. I'm not full screening this anymore. The Spurs average ticket, $157. Again, this is without adding Victor Wembanyama, the Wembanyama factor. And they were pretty bad last year, so it's probably gone up a bit. Parking's expensive. Who cares about parking? But it is. It's one of the more expensive parking tickets at this level in the slideshow. Beer's $8. I'm incredulous, though. So I think it's $8, but that's for like a draft, like they pour you the draft, which I always think is smaller than 16. Let's move on. Let's check out what the Spurs tickets are. We're moving way too slow on this anyway, so let's just move along. Let's not argue the price of a beer in San Antonio. What's the point, man? All right, Boston, $89. People love to watch Boston. Jeez, man. Are you guys Boston fans? I don't particularly find any player on that team. Well, I like Drew. I don't know. I don't really connect with anyone on that team. That's neither here nor there. Okay, so if you want to go on a Sunday, a weekend, to go see at 6 o'clock, prime time, you know, it's on TV. Everyone's watching it. $89. So that's probably the most expensive ticket you're going to get Other than the Warriors or the Lakers, I would assume. Those are pretty expensive. So you can get a ticket for 20 bucks on a weekday. You go see Giannis play. Not terrible. This all adds up. So the research I did is sort of adding up right now. 14 bucks to see the Hornets play the Spurs, that feels like a lot. Again, it is a Friday, so these are more people that want a thing to do. Go see the Spurs that have an expendable income and want to do something on a Friday night. It's always going to bring the price up. We can move on from this slide. It doesn't matter. Houston Rockets, 159 bucks. We're going up a little bit. And $9 parking. $10 beer. You know what? I'm not going to mention the parking anymore until we get into the higher ones. $10 56 beer. That's starting to feel like a stadium beer, right? That's starting to feel like, ooh, you know, when you buy a Michelob Ultra tall boy and it's, you know, close to $11 and then you're prompted to tip on top of that, it's starting to sting a little bit. The Houston Rockets are starting to feel like a professional sports team when it comes to the price of their tickets. And they're good. So I imagine they're still, you know, the price is still pretty high to go see a Houston Rockets game this year. It's only getting higher. So let's see how much it cost. Houston Rockets against the Clippers on a Sunday. Oh, I need to go home. Not away games. All right, Pistons Rockets, 15 bucks on a Monday. Okay, $6, dude. This is what I'm talking about. When you're under single-digit ticket prices, teams. Man, nobody in Houston is showing out to see the Brooklyn Nets, who aren't even like an abysmal team. It's you can go on a weekend. On a weekend, you can go see the Jazz, who aren't terrible. You can go see them for $9. Again, these are the cheapest of the cheap seats. So. I would honestly, it would seem now that the rankings, the Rockets would be at the bottom, right by the Thunder and the Pacers. I think the Pistons and the Spurs actually have more expensive tickets. The Magic, this can't be right. Even though they said at the beginning of the season it was $163 for a ticket. Also, now we're talking the beer price. This seems a little more accurate. $15.75 for a beer. That seems like what you would probably pay at a stadium, at a basketball game. But I'm curious. Let's see what they actually... I'm going to close this window. We don't really need it. I'm actually really curious to see how much tickets are now. Because there are a lot of Magic fans. People in Orlando do show out for the Magic games. See? Now I'm starting to think that the research I did was a little wrong. Because it's $37 on a Sunday to see them play the Hawks. You know, these are getting into expensive tickets. On a Tuesday, $24. Again, these are the cheapest tickets you can possibly find, and you're always going to have fees on top of that. Because that's just how SeatGeek works. I don't know why. I always feel like if there's a fee, if I can't avoid the fee, don't call it a fee, right? A fee makes me feel like you did something wrong, now you're charged a fee. If it was just... You know, when you add the word fee to a price that's set by anyone who wants to purchase a particular thing, and there's no way to avoid it, don't call it a fee. That's my theory. Anyway, Orlando Magic tickets are pretty expensive. $58 if you want to go on a Sunday to see them play the Heat. These are expensive tickets. And the reason being, the Orlando Magic are good, which is very strange. I guess the Pacers aren't good enough to warrant a higher ticket price. I guess. Or Indiana is too obsessed with Hoosier basketball, and they don't care enough about Indiana Pacer basketball. That's entirely possible, too. Washington Wizards are next, 163, so it's about the same as the Magic. And same price as beer. Whatever. Let's just check and see what Washington Wizards home ticket prices are. For fun. I don't care. I really don't care about this, but I just want to see if they actually are... No. Oh my gosh. You can get a... Oh no. No, we're back. We're not doing home. I wish you could just set this permanently home. $23 to go see the Knicks. The Knicks are the highest valued NBA team. That's what they say. I don't believe it's true. I think the Lakers are the highest value, or the Boston Celtics, it would seem. $10 if you want to see Oklahoma City Thunder, Detroit Pistons on a Monday, it's $6. Again, cheap tickets, but the Magic tickets are definitely more expensive, so they should, you know, the rankings should change a bit. I'm sorry if you're a Magic fan and you take pride in an expensive ticket price. I apologize. I'm wrong. 168 and Utah, I guess I mean Utah shows out for the Jazz. They don't really have many. I think they have Real Salt Lake, but I believe that's their only other professional sports team. $10 beers, and you know the beers are probably, I think they have to be like 3.2% alcohol. So if you're trying to get trashed at a Jazz game, it's going to be expensive and it's going to be difficult to do. Let's see how much tickets are on SeatGeek. This isn't sponsored by SeatGeek. No one sponsors this show. There's no ads. I just chose SeatGeek. I don't really use SeatGeek. I'm more of a StubHub guy. Oh, gotta switch it to home. Okay, so Utah Jazz versus Dallas. We got $22 on a Monday. Jazz tickets are expensive. They weren't lying. $9 to see the Pacers, though. Man, people do not care about the Pacers. And here's what I'm saying. $40 if you want to see the Jazz play the Golden State Warriors. Because children want to see Steph Curry because he has a baby face. And he's excellent. He's an excellent basketball player. Everyone wants to see him, but kids connect with him because he looks like, you know, he's obviously a muscular athlete, professional athlete. Not saying he looks prepubescent, but he looks young. I wish I had a baby face. I have pretty bad skin. Charlotte Hornets, 169. I find that surprising. Let's dig into that. $10 beers, nothing crazy. Typical standard. I don't feel like I'm getting grifted. I'll pay $10 for a beer. I'll throw a $1 tip. I don't care. I'll do it. That's reasonable. I'll have two beers. All right, the Bulls on a Monday, $9. These are like super cheap tickets. I wish I lived in one of these cities where I could get tickets for a couple bucks. I would just go hang out and bring a flask of alcohol and a weed pen and get messed up. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. What am I talking about? $23 on a Friday. Go see the Spurs. It feels like to me people just want to go to NBA games on weekends. That's what I'm thinking. It feels like people just want to go to NBA games on a weekend. Getting anyone to go to a NBA game on a weekday feels, you know, damn near impossible. Yeah, pretty reasonable prices. $88 to watch the Lakers. The Lakers are always going to have the most expensive ticket. People want to see LeBron James in the flesh. It's a stars league. It's a league run by the stars. People want to go see a celebrity. That's the NBA. That's what they sold. If you don't like that, you're like me, because I don't like that either. Then the Kings, $173. This was when they got good. But I think people just like the Kings in Sacramento. I think they really connect with their fans. The whole Light the Beam thing is pretty awesome. Playing pretty well this year. $11.35 for that parking spot. Ain't too shabby. That's like a meter for 4 hours. All right, $10 beers, pretty standard. Let's take a look. Let's get on there. Let's figure out what the actual ticket price is, because the research isn't always right. I'm a scientist, if anything. Charlotte Hornets on a Tuesday, $28. Kings tickets are expensive now. This is wrong. Kings tickets are crazy expensive. On a Friday, date night, $36 to go see them play the Raptors, a bad team. What about a Sunday? What about a cheap date night on a Sunday afternoon? Go see the Pelicans play? $37. Now let's see what the price is on a team that's actually competitive. Like the Nuggets on a Friday, $56. Kings tickets are pretty expensive. Now we're actually getting into the tickets of cities who like their team. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Pelicans. I always thought the Pelicans tickets, that was like, the reputation was that the Pelicans tickets were always the least expensive and it was the least crowded stadium of any stadium in the NBA. But apparently that has changed. It's $179. On average. Again, these are including the floor seats. These are including courtside seats, which drive the price up, because those are like, they cost like a Honda Civic to go see a Cavs game if you want to be right on the floor. $12 beers. Now we're talking. Now we're getting into stadium prices. They don't want people getting sloppy drunk in New Orleans. And I respect that. Keep it about the game. Don't let people get drunk at sporting events. They don't behave. You know who you are. Brooklyn Nets in the Smoothie King Center for $6. These tickets are crazy expensive. This research is wrong. I should just stop going to the slideshow presentation because the data is just completely wrong. The Pelicans have some of the cheap $4. $4 to go see the Hornets play the Pelicans? Dude, this is bull sweat, dude. This is baloney. $4? I'll have 3 beers and watch the Hornets play the Pelicans and spend less than $50. Wow. I apologize. You know, let's blame whatever the website was. I don't even care. We'll blame them. We'll blame the website. The Nuggets, which can't be right. $184. That's one of the cheaper ones. The average seat price kind of like doesn't matter. I should have chose like the mode, not the most common ticket price within $10. That probably would have been the move. But we can at least get an idea for how much tickets are going for. $9 parking, pretty reasonable. $15 beers, sounds about right. They really gouge you once they get you in the stadium, which is despicable. So let's look at what an actual Nuggets game would cost, because my research is, again, false. I'm a bad scientist. So if you want to go see the dog shit Charlotte Hornets, $39. Expensive to see a really bad team on a weekday. Okay. Friday, date night, Orlando Magic, a good team, $42. That doesn't make any sense to me. If you want to go see abysmal team, Detroit Pistons on a Sunday, $29. Okay. I just find it very surprising that the Charlotte Hornets at the Denver Nuggets tomorrow is maybe because it's coming up and people want to go because it's like, oh, we got one last-minute tickets, driving the price up. But that feels expensive. So $64 if you want to go on Saturday, January 27th, to watch them play the Sixers in the cheapest seat possible. It's going to be $64. What do you think of that? It feels very inexpensive. It says rivalry game on here on SeatGeek. That's funny because it's going to be hopefully Embiid and Jokic facing off together. That's pretty exciting. I'd like to see that. Only $64. But if you want a decent seat, honestly, it's not worth going to if you have a bad seat. That's my opinion. So we're going to move on. Milwaukee Bucks, nope, doesn't say rivalry game. Interesting. Milwaukee Bucks on a Monday, 56. I would expect them to be higher just because the Nuggets are the reigning champions. 201 for a Minnesota Timberwolves ticket. And I don't really believe this. I have a hard time believing this because I've been to a Costco in Minnesota where they were selling Minnesota Timberwolves tickets, and they were like $80 for 2 tickets in the first section. It was crazy. Karl Anthony Towns was on the team. Anthony Edwards at that time I don't believe was drafted, but tickets were crazy inexpensive to go to a Timberwolves game. Them and the Pelicans were the teams that people said the price for the tickets are very cheap and people don't show up to games. So that did prove to be right for the Pelicans. No one goes to those Pelicans games. It's a lie. The research I did was bad. I should have done my research before to check the data. The literally one source I had, I didn't check. What are you going to do? What's the team we're looking up? The Minnesota Timberwolves. New man on the Minnesota. Remember when Lizzo was crushing on Karl Anthony Towns? You think they hooked up? I don't. $24 for a Pelicans, the 2 teams that I had mentioned, on a Wednesday. Yeah, their tickets are getting more expensive now. Yeah, because they're good. They're the best in the West. So, of course, their tickets are going to be expensive. Even to go see a crappy date night game, $27. Portland Trailblazers, Minnesota Timberwolves at the Target Center. The Clippers, $40 on a Sunday. Date night is always the big one. Sunday, not as much. Fridays and Saturdays, people show out. $49 if you want to go see them play the Oklahoma City Thunder. So tickets are, you know, they're expensive because they're good. That's what's up. That's how that's working right now. I've been to a Blazers game. Now we're on one of the second team of the stadium that I've been to. Yes, $198. And it was expensive. Here's the thing. I go to a lot of Clippers games, and I've been to one Blazers game. And the ticket for the Blazers game was more expensive. And I think both teams were similar. Maybe the Blazers were a little bit better. So I find it surprising that the Blazers tickets are cheaper. Again, faulty research, but $11 beers, $21 for parking. I didn't park. They have good public transportation in Portland, so maybe it's because property is expensive and they can kind of gouge you because they're, you know, Portland. They're like, you should ride a bike or take public transportation because you're killing the earth, and we're one of the cities that matters to. So the home game right now, Phoenix Suns, $18 on a Sunday. That's very inexpensive. That's crazy cheap because you're going to see Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Yusuf Nurkic revenge game. Psh. Take my $18 and I'll pay whatever the beer price was, somewhere around $10 or $11. $5 if you want to go see them play the Brooklyn Nets. They're an abysmal team. They're in the low, yeah, $7. Watch them play the Sixers for $7. One of the best teams in the East. Ugh. Man, rough year. When Dame sucked the life out of that town when he left. That's for sure, because tickets were really expensive when I went. So we got the Cleveland Cavs, 207. That was surprising to me. I guess Donovan Mitchell. I remember for a while, I was looking, what is the best courtside seat like that you could afford? Or maybe it was floor seats. I think it was like $600 you get like a floor seat in Cleveland on a game against the Pistons. I believe that's what it was. But again, this was 6 years ago. So it's 207 now. $5 beers. I have a hard time believing that. That feels crazy inexpensive, so inexpensive that you know people are going to be white boy wasted at those Cleveland games. Not to make it racial, but let's look it up. Let's look up Cleveland Cavaliers and let's take a look at their home games. Okay, everyone's talking about they need to trade Donovan Mitchell because Darius Garland's hurt and like Mobley's hurt. The team is still good. They're still winning games. Chill. Let him be. Yeah, maybe he doesn't re-sign. Maybe he doesn't extend. Whatever. Just chill. You're in the middle of a season and you're not even in the play-in section. I don't think. Maybe you are, but you're pretty close. You're having a solid season. Relax, Cleveland. Don't trade anyone. You just got into a position where you're making the playoffs. Calm down. Washington Wizards, a terrible team on a Wednesday night, $7. But if that was Portland, they were playing the Wizards on a Wednesday, it would be $4. Keep that in mind. So it's really not too bad. Let's look at a date night game. Friday at 7:30. Ooh, late night. The later the game, the more expensive it is, and the hotter the date is, whatever that means to you. So, they have back-to-back Wizards games. So back-to-back Wizards games, $14. Ticket price doubles. Ticket prices double if it's a Friday night. Let's look at a real game. $15 on a Wednesday. Let's look at a real game on a weekend. See what that'll cost you. Guess they don't play on the weekend. New York Knicks. Playoff revenge game. $21. Prices are cheap, man. Prices are really cheap. For, it's a Kelsey Brothers bobblehead giveaway. On March 5th on a Tuesday against the Boston Celtics? Why would they have a Kelsey Brothers? Are they from there? I know Travis Kelce went to UC. Maybe they're from there. I'm a sucker for a bobblehead night. I'll go to a Dodgers game, even though I'm not. I don't know how baseball works, but I'll still go if I get a free bobblehead of a guy that I don't know. Memphis Grizzlies are next, $226. Dang, dude, Memphis shows out, man. And that is not a town that has money. That's like a working class town, dude. That is not like your San Franciscos of the world where there's, tech people and finance people like in New York. That is like a working class town, I think. I don't know what I'm talking about. How would I know that? Sacramento Kings. So tonight they play the Sacramento Kings. You can get a ticket for $6. People aren't really believing in the Memphis Grizzlies right now in Memphis. They don't believe that Ja can bring the team back because that's very inexpensive. And then they're playing the Spurs on Tuesday for $8. $4 on Wednesday against the Toronto Raptors. Show out for your team. Man, if I lived in one of these cities, I'd definitely be going to more games. At least I say that. $6 to see the Knicks play on a Saturday? Wow, Memphis. Memphis is last. Memphis is last on this list. My order is all messed up. Memphis, nobody is showing out for Memphis to come to a game. They don't even watch Ja. I've seen so many Clippers-Grizzlies games, different eras of both teams. They're always, I feel like they always put up a lineup that I'm interested in seeing if they're not good. The Heat, the Miami Heat, $230. Heat people got money. I feel like it's West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale. People have their vacation homes there. They want to take their prostitutes and do in the Miami, in the FTX Arena bathroom. I'm projecting. $70 for parking. Ain't cheap. $11.20 seems cheap for Miami Heat beer, but I don't know. Again, the information might be wrong. Let's check it out. Let's see how much tickets are. I think people are also kind of sick of that Heat team. They've kind of seen it too much, even though they made the finals last year, and I've got mad respect for them. I kind of want to watch them change it. I know it's bad to say. I just think no matter how close they get to the championship, they're never going to get it. I couldn't see them winning a finals because I've seen them playing it twice and they haven't got it, so it could just be a confirmation bias. I don't know. Houston Rockets on a Monday, though. $31. Not terrible. Again, expensive tickets. We're in the top half. We're at like 20 right now. So Sunday, watching the Hornets, 65. These are expensive. That's a bad team. 66 on a Friday. Yeah, these are bad teams, and we still haven't broken the cheapest ticket for over 100 yet, though. So keep that in mind. But we're gonna get there, and it won't be too long. The Atlanta Hawks. Now here's the thing about the Atlanta Hawks. $6.72. Again, for a beer. In case you're just watching this and doing the dishes. $6.72 for a beer. Atlanta, both the Falcons and the Hawks, make it a point to have cheap concessions for the people. Except the tickets are expensive, but can't help that. Scalpers, right? You can't help what a resale ticket is. So, but good for the city of Atlanta for caring about its people and not necessarily its rich people. I'm not trying to be a commie or whatever. I'm just saying, you know, if you want to build a good product and you want to build something that's helpful for everyone, maybe make it inexpensive for, you know, or if you want to just make money, make money. Buy a team and then just milk the shit out of it, wring the shit out of it for every dollar it's worth, and alienate fans that can't afford to go to a game. That's an option too. OKC playing for 22 bucks, 76ers, $10. This feels weird. Why would an Oklahoma City Thunder, again, maybe this could be like when I upload it, when I like refresh the page. Well, let's refresh the page. Let's see what happens. Because that doesn't make sense to me. One Wednesday is really expensive and another Wednesday is not. Unless, here's the lesson you can learn. Buy your tickets far in advance. Don't buy your tickets last minute. The further in advance you can buy your tickets, the cheaper they're going to be. Because an Oklahoma City Thunder game on a Wednesday is $22. The following Wednesday, the Sixers, a better team, a team in the East, I'm not even going to say a better team, but a team in the East that has the reigning MVP is only $10, is less. Think about that. Buy your tickets further in advance. That's just the truth. That's going to be something you're going to want to do. Let's move on. My back hurts. The Toronto Raptors, they're crazy expensive because they're, you know, Toronto's a big city. It's bigger than any other city besides New York City in the top half of North America, United States and Canada. So it's a big market, and this stadium is a normal size. So $245. Now we're getting, prices are shooting up now. I think the Hawks was like 200. Well, that's 234. Hawks are expensive. Sports town, I guess. $10 beer is pretty reasonable. I'm not talking about parking anymore. I don't think anyone really cares. So let's just type in Toronto Raptors and just see how much tickets are for a home game, of course. Away game might be interesting too. See, $96 to watch them play the Cavs on a Monday. We're getting into the expensive tickets. If you want to go see them play Boston on a Monday, though, $57. Dude, buy tickets in advance. This is so funny to me. This is so funny. Or maybe it's because the only seats that are left are tickets that are the expensive tickets. Not sure. But either way, buy your tickets in advance. So now we're getting to really expensive tickets. Looks like the mean price is like $50 for the cheapest ticket for Toronto Raptors. Maybe you'll see Drake. I don't know. Be cool. Mavericks, $249. I remember Mark Cuban would always say, people would always on Shark Tank say, maybe I can get in season tickets to the Mavericks, Mark? And Mark would always say, I don't have any. We're sold out. in a very earnest way. Like he didn't really care about the joke. He's just said, hey, in case you're serious, no. $250, $12 beers, pretty reasonable, pretty normal. Let's look at some prices. And Dallas is killing it, so I bet they're even more expensive. Dallas, big sports town. Looking at the home game. I better not do this. Trailblazers on a Wednesday, 22. Oh, they're not too bad. Toronto is definitely way more expensive. Interesting. Grizzlies, 32. These are kind of weird prices. Pelicans, 57 on a Saturday. This isn't bad. This is like the average ticket price, like $30 for a cheap ticket. So this is a little bit skewed as well. Interesting. Let's look at the Bucks. Bucks, who are awesome. A really good team. I couldn't imagine. This is going to be the biggest, I think, drop-off of ticket price once that team starts getting bad. Once the Bucks enter a rebuilding phase, the tickets are going to be so cheap in Milwaukee, I have to assume. And there's a lot of infrastructure around the area where the stadium is. Pfizer, I think is what it's called. It's going to be crazy because people aren't going to come to games anymore once Giannis is gone. I think this is sort of a flash in the pan for this team to be good. I'm very happy for the city of Milwaukee, but you got to think, when you build all this infrastructure based on the fact that you have this 7-foot-tall Greek dude who's dominating the second most watched sport in the league, once he's gone, what are you going to do? You're going to have a lot of storefronts without people in Giannis jerseys coming in. That's for sure. Am I being pessimistic? Yeah. Yeah. Maybe everything's going to rule in Milwaukee forever. I know they have the most bars per capita in the United States. Why do I know that? Because I am curious about that kind of stuff. $17 if you want to go on a Monday to watch them play the Utah Jazz next Monday. That could be fun. $17. All the other tickets are pretty expensive. $93 to see them play the Golden State Warriors. It's always going to cost a lot to see Steph on a Saturday. Ooh, boy. Yeah, you're going to pay a lot of money because that's a cheap ticket, too. It's not worth going to a game in the cheap seats. That's my opinion. LA Clippers. Now, I have a lot of experience going to LA Clippers games, and one thing I'm going to tell you is a beer is not $11. It is not. It is like $16, $17 if you want like a Michelob Ultra. If you want to ball out and you want like a Truly lemonade or something, it's like $18, something like that. I've never paid for parking. I park on the street. I park next to homeless encampment in Skid Row, and I give the guys my keys and I say, have at it, fellas. Just bring it back around 10. Let's look at it, tickets. And tickets are more expensive. Like I said, I went to that. I wanted to go to that Kawhi bobblehead night game against the Celtics. I couldn't afford it, or I could afford it. It just wasn't worth it, right? We can all afford things. The question is, do you want to make the sacrifice for it? So Miami Heat on a Monday, $40, cheap ticket. Sounds right. It's not worth going to the crypto arena if you're on the third level. If you can get a second level ticket, it's worth it, but the third level is just too far away unless you're in the very front of the third level. You're going to forget that if you're ever in LA, but if you do live in LA, you already know that because you've been to the crypto.com arena for a Kings game, a Clippers game, or a Lakers game. Lakers Clippers on a Sunday, $150. We've broken the $100 barrier by a lot. $149. If you want to go to crypto and see a Clippers-Lakers game. That is a Clippers home game. Not a Lakers home game. It's different. Lakers home games, they shut off all the lights, and they just have the stadium lights. During the Clippers game, it feels like a high school auditorium, like awards assembly. All right, that's enough of that. Even though I had a lot to say about the Clippers, but I just kind of want to rock and roll through this. The Sixers, $264. $20 for parking, and parking in the Sixers arena, all their stadiums are way out in the middle of nowhere in South Philadelphia, not around anything. So they're really gouging you because it's not like your city parking. It's not like we're in Skyscraperville and you got to, space is limited. They're really gouging the crap out of you. $10 for a beer? Who cares? Not bad. I don't believe any of these beer prices anyway. I'm done even saying this. I'm going to start my own website, and I can be the reference point for how much tickets cost and beer costs in stadiums, because I'm very annoyed. This is on me too. We see something on the internet, we see something from like a seemingly legitimate website, and we say, there it is, that's the information, that's the correct information, and we don't look into it to consider if it's false, because this is for sure false information. Let's look at the home games. Not too bad. See, these aren't even expensive tickets. Nobody really cares about the Sixers, I guess, in Philly. Or they do, but just not to the degree that the website said. All right, look at these tickets. Pretty reasonable. What's a date night? Knicks, Sixers, $62. Wow. Not bad, considering that the Lakers-Clippers game was $150. Knicks 76ers, I would assume it's something pretty comparable. But that Clippers team, it's the fact that it's star-studded. And, you know, like I said, the NBA runs on stars, man. We want to come out and we want to get a picture of the celebrity whose shoes we share. That's how we do. That's America. $285 to see a Suns game. I remember when they were really cheap. My brother used to live in Arizona. He got tickets to see Giannis play the Suns back when nobody was on it but Booker. But Booker was just sort of like a scoring machine that was a faucet on defense back then. Kelly Oubre was on the team. Remember that girl that, you know, ran through the whole squad on the Suns and then went on the No Jumper podcast? Do you guys remember that? Are you a OG basketball fan that's been around for 6 years? That was a funny story. Devin Booker was one of them. Kelly Oubre was not. My brain retains information that it doesn't need to. Oh yeah, we need to look up the Suns right now. So, see what a home game costs. See what we're in the ballpark for. Stop. Just told my browser to stop browsing. Okay, so oh wow. Nobody is showing up to... That's wrong. These Sun games... Look at these Suns games. So inexpensive. Let's look at a date night game against the Miami Heat. You can go to the Footprint Center for $30. Guys, the Suns are so inexpensive to go see. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. Phoenix, what is you doing? Get some season tickets. Who cares? Ball out. $10 beers. Chicago is a giant city. The United Center, I have not been to a Bulls game, but I saw the Black Keys there once. And again, it is very big, and if you have cheap seats, it's not worth going. I didn't really enjoy my time at the Black Keys concert, if I'm being honest. And I got there late and I didn't get to see the Arctic Monkeys, so it was very sad. This was back in like 2012. Imagine that, Arctic Monkeys opening up for the Black Keys. So let's get into it. $10 beers. I have a hard time believing that. $22 for parking. Parking in Chicago is incredibly expensive. It is the second biggest city, and it is the second biggest skyline. It has the most skyscrapers. It's very dense. LA is not. LA has very little downtown area. You can find parking on the street pretty easily. Chicago is not that way. It looks completely different. If you don't live in America, or if you've never been to LA or Chicago or New York City, Chicago and New York City look very similar. LA does not. LA has a very small downtown. Parking is pretty ubiquitous. You can find something anywhere. Versus Chicago, you're going to pay $22 to park at the United Center, which isn't even in the Loop. The Loop is the main area of downtown of the L train, the CTA. If you're from Chicago, you already know. If you're already from the Chi, you already know. Let's look it up, though. Bulls suck, though, so maybe things are different. Maybe things aren't the way they seem. Things aren't always the way they appear on the internet. We're learning today. You probably already knew, and I learned today. $124 to go see the Golden State Warriors on date night. People in Chicago love ball. Michael Jordan, the long tail of popularity amongst the Bulls. I think people in other countries like the Bulls because they like Jordan. So let's move on. I don't care. Nets. Doubt it. $283. This is, all right, okay, but here's where parking matters. $34. Around $35 to park, $13 beers. It's expensive in New York City to live in a rat-infested hellhole. I like New York, but man, is it dirty. I live in South Central LA, so I have something to compare it to. It's gross, especially Brooklyn. So let's see how much tickets are now. $89 to watch and play the Lakers on date night. Again, that is the most expensive ticket you could possibly have. Your home team on a Friday night playing the Lakers. $89. Cheapest you could possibly have is the Pelicans, $6 on a Tuesday. This is all lies, man. It's expensive to go to a Brooklyn Nets game just because New York City is expensive, but Brooklyn is not. Maybe this was taken back when Kevin Durant and Kyrie and maybe Harden too were on the team, so maybe that's it. Maybe that's factored in. Of course, Boston's expensive. $25 for parking, $18 for a beer. That was like JFK. JFK is from New England, so it wasn't bad. Average seat, 303. I bet it's even more expensive, dude. It's gonna be crazy. What's the cheapest seat for a Boston Celtics ticket? I bet it's so much money. Boston isn't even a town where people have money, right? 121 bucks. Everything's over $100 to go see a Boston Celtics game. Utah Jazz, it's $121 again. Date night. Minnesota on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, 107 bucks. Let's move on. Celtics tickets are really expensive. You're not going to get in unless you want to go to see the Hawks on a Wednesday. You're not going to get in under $100. That's how it is in Boston. That's how it is in Boston. With the New York Knicks. $346 to go to Madison Square Garden. But it's the experience of being in Madison Square Garden. $14 beers, $40 parking, who cares? We're here. You should have taken the subway. Let's look it up. What's up in New York City? Let's look up the Knicks game. Let's see what's up. Let's see what's bracking with the Knicks. For a home game, I need to stop. We can look at away games too. $167 to see a great team on a Monday tomorrow. Again, tickets get really expensive the closer you get to the time. Go see the Bulls on a Wednesday, 146 bucks. Hey, Boston tickets are more expensive. What do you know? Let's move on. The Lakers. The Lakers. I've been to one Lakers game and I went for free. $11 beers, same as it was for the Clippers. It'd be funny if they charged more for Lakers games, the beers. No, it's crypto's price. They said it. $16 parking, same as for the Clippers. I would probably have to pay for parking because I imagine more people go to the Lakers. Maybe. I don't know. $518 for a ticket. That's too much money to go to a basketball game. I'm sorry. If you have that kind of money and to spend on a basketball game, good for you. But if you don't have that and you're like putting it on a card, I've been watching a lot of financial help videos. Stop. Don't put anything on a card, especially a basketball game. If you can't pay with it for a debit card, or if you just use your credit card as a purgatory for your debt and you pay it off immediately, that's what I'm saying debit card is. Dang, dude. People want to see LeBron. That's what it is. Lakers games are a scene. You're gonna see the guy that owns that big house from the Big Lebowski. Although I did see that guy, Jimmy, whatever his name is, Jimmy something. I also saw him at a Clippers game though. So he goes to all the games. And then you're gonna see Jack Nicholson. You're gonna see Rihanna. She's I think she's still a big LeBron fan. So Miami Heat, $139. Even the Memphis Grizzlies, $111. $61 to go see the Raptors though. Not bad on a Tuesday. I could swing that. I would swing it. If it was a bobblehead night, I would go. But it ain't, because it would tell me that. $611. I've been to the Chase Center. It is a great stadium. You can also get standing room seats, which aren't bad. I had standing room seats, but you have to move the barrier. You have to break the rules, otherwise you will not be able to see half the court. Keep that in mind. If you go to the Chase Center and you get a standing room seat, it's not bad. It's way cheaper, but you have to finesse your way to move the barrier so you can see. Otherwise, half the court is obfuscated from you. It's very frustrating. So roll the dice. Maybe you'll be able to move the barrier. Maybe the people there, because they have guys that watch the barrier, and when you move it, they say, "Hey, put that barrier back." Keep that in mind when you go to a Chase Center game. My tickets were like $89 when I went to go see the Warriors game. Average price is $611. I imagine the closer you get, the prices go really high. That brings this price up. Obviously, no one's going to pay $611 if you're like me and you just work a job. So, you know, $18 beers, of course. They have a bake sale, Betty's, which is an Oakland staple my friend told me about. I have not been, but he says we need to go sometime. But they have this like tiny little bake shop. They have their food. It's a tiny little bake shop. I'm trying not describing this very well. It's a tiny little bake shop. They have chicken sandwiches every Saturday at Bake Sale Betty's in Oakland. And they have one in the Chase Center. If you think about that, it's very funny because Bake Sale Betty's is like a dumpy little restaurant, little bakery. And then this stadium was like, that's an iconic part of Oakland we need to put in the Chase Center. And I don't know. I don't know how much the food tastes the same. I couldn't imagine it tastes the same at all. Being you have a dirty kitchen versus a stadium kitchen, they'd make different food, I'd assume. I might be wrong. I don't know. That's it. That's all of them. I'm sorry my research wasn't great. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had fun. Be good to your mothers. Have a happy new year.